Well, hello guys. Hey there, hi there. Hope everybody's having a good evening. I'm here tonight for Battlestar Galactichat Ep.7. Obviously, we're a few panelists light. We're kind of efforting to track everybody down, and that at some point will happen as they make their way in. So we're just going to kind of go with it until they do. So here we are. So I am always joined by my sister from another mister, Rosetta Allen. She's in here, and we've got hopefully Script Doctor and our other buddy Brian on the way soon, and hopefully maybe our special guest if she makes her way in here, and we'll keep our fingers crossed for that. So in the meantime, we will start off with obviously the name of the show, because that's what it is, Battlestar Galactichat. And the latest Battlestar Galactica news I have, well, again, it's not too much. We haven't heard too much. The thing that I've gotten from sources, I've heard that this may sort of relate to it. Well, hi, Moira. And there's Orange Hat, and there's Open Minded. Hi, guys. The latest thing that I've heard about the new BSG series is that, again, nothing has come out. This mainly has to do with Sam Esmail's Mr. Robot show. And so far, the reception to the final season of Mr. Robot is very mixed reaction, which, take that for what you will, since Sam Esmail obviously is going to be doing the new Battlestar Galactica series. Is that an indication of how it's going to turn out? We don't know. But right now, as far as Mr. Robot goes, that could be a warning sign, and I say that only from the standpoint of here in the Fandom Menace, we have seen time again, especially with the Game of Thrones stuff, that, when you have a final season out of a show and you get that sort of report back, that means that any future projects could be a little lower in quality. But again, we don't know that. And there's really no correlation there. That is up to the perception of you guys to chew on. I don't know. Rosetta, what do you think that means? From hearing from, the sources that I have in the reaction to the final season of this show that this guy's working on before he jumps over to start BSG, do you think that's like a bad sign, or is it just...
It depends on why. Because some shows it gets harder to come up with quality stories as you go further in too. And some shows, legitimately, things happen that are beyond just the production crew. Things happen with cast or other stuff. So I would say if it's him just getting lazier and trying less, then that's an issue. But if something else happened and he's trying his best to work with it, that's not as much.
Hey, DJ Odyssey, nice to see you. The thing that, the consensus seems to be from the people that have seen it so far. I've said that, the show Mr. Robot was such a good show. It came in like a lion, but it's kind of going out like a lamb. And I'm just looking at it from that standpoint of like how Game of Thrones turned out in the final season. So does that make it something to be concerned about when he's starting this new project? Because for me, I was going to say, if you took it as a concern, it would be that maybe this guy doesn't know how to close a story.
Yeah, and there's definitely a concern for that. Like I said, it's hard to say for sure what's causing it or that without more information, but it is something we should at least be cautious of, wary of. but it may not necessarily be as bad as it could sound.
Hey, and there's Script Doctor joining us.
Better explanation of what I'm saying than I have.
Yeah,
Well,
there's
Rosetta, you're kind of bang on. Like maybe, like what's the motivation for why Mr. Robot ended the way it did? I mean, it was a short series. It was only 4 seasons. That's not a lot. That's less than 100 episodes.
Yeah, I was gonna say that doesn't even make a syndication number, does it?
Hey, Mark. Let's see. Yeah, it's just kind of it's kind of weird because you and I, Drew, we were talking about this just the other day. How I started hearing some of the fans of the series weren't too pleased with how Mr. Robot ended, and then but not so much on Twitter or Instagram or anything like that, which is, I guess, kind of a good thing. But I mean, it does throw things up in the air a little bit. I mean, if you have a show that was so popular, at least for those first 2 seasons, third season, I think not so much, because they took a break, and then they did the 4th season, and then no one's really talking about it, other than it just didn't really satisfy.
Yeah, I think my biggest concern is like I don't want to see a Game of Thrones season 8 situation here. You know, and where there's that, and then it shows like cracks in the armor where again the creator might have a problem closing a story. Now that, like I said, that would be what would give me pause.
Well, that's one of the sad, unfortunate flaws of TV writing, is that in many, many, many cases, when you write the pilot, you're not really thinking about how you're going to end the series. You're just hoping that maybe lightning will strike again towards the end, and you'll come up with a way to sort of round it all out.
Right.
Which, whenever I'm able to be lucky enough to teach a class or do a lecture, I always stress that if you're writing a pilot, you don't have to think of an ending, but you should at least figure out a way of where you want these characters to be if the show does end. Like, you don't need the specifics, you just need to sort of like a general idea of where they are in comparison to where they were when you were introduced to them. And that will at least save you a lot, because say, for instance, you get told, oh, you're 2 seasons in, sorry, you're not going to get renewed. Well, at least you know where your characters need to be in order to close out the season for those that still do like the show, and deliver on that.
Yeah, so I'm glad you made it in the panel, by the way, buddy. I thought that your nap was going to take you into the next millennium.
Oh, I haven't slept yet. I had to go to the washroom, and it was more like an Austin Powers urinating event. It just didn't stop.
Jeez, dude.
I know it's a little too much information, but it was impressive. It was like,
no, you know what, dude? You're like a brother to me.
the toilet flushed itself for me. It was really cool.
Never change.
Yeah. So,
well, I'm trying to be professional, and then that said.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fair.
Rosetta's the most professional one on the panel this evening. Look at that.
How did that happen? Especially as a city you're playing with rings.
But hey, what an ass! What's going on, buddy? Good to see you this evening, man. Nice to see everybody. Man, I really appreciate the turnout. You guys are amazing. Oh man.
Yeah, the turnout for the streams for these channels has been pretty good this week. It's nice.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. So yeah, basically, guys, that's what we've heard about anything even loosely pertaining to BSG. And I know, Script Doctor, you have again, just this is the time of year that news is just not out yet about really
Yeah,
shows.
The only people that are working are the ones that are having movies released over the holidays. That's it. Like everybody else, they're doing their at-home stuff. So pilot season starts in mid to late January. That's for filming production, but at the same time, adjacent to that, there's new writers pitching their scripts for the fall season to go into pre-production for next year. And who knows, there might even stuff that's rushed for the summer for the off-season things, because now with the streaming services and every network having like their website doing like a set of streaming shows, there's no real traditional schedule to debut new television programs anymore. So it's pretty up in the air.
Yeah, I think like it's gonna be a little bit yet before we hear more definitive things, because the only thing I have is like way back from a couple months ago, from when they had that interview with Esmail, and that's about it. So yeah, we're kind of in a holding pattern yet with the BSG news guys. So it is what it is.
And there should be an NBC panel coming up in the new year pretty soon about their streaming service and the shows that they want to do. They usually launch stuff like that
Right.
pretty early.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So when Peacock launches,
Oh boy.
I know. I still laugh at that name, man. Like, who seriously?
It's a very laughable name.
Who names a streaming service that? Like, seriously.
Well, they can't really call it the national streaming service.
Right.
Because that's still another type of urinating joke as well. So
Exactly. All right, so we'll move on to some other pop culture stuff. Basically, we have like some things that have been going on with bounding into comics lately. I wanted to kind of lead off with this one because John did this story today. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker advanced ticket sales not overly robust. So
in
apparently,
Ontario they are, yeah.
So apparently, Deadline is reporting that the advanced ticket sales are strong, but not overly robust, and they sort of clarify it in the way that they were for 2015's Force Awakens, which was 247.9 million, and 2017's Last Jedi, which was 220 mil. So their places are sort of saying that Rise of Skywalker is going to probably bring in about 175 to 205 mil opening weekend. I could see that.
Yeah, that's a good estimate.
I don't see. I don't
3-hour
know.
movie.
Yeah, I don't. I just again, I don't know that advanced sales are going to be hot as it is, because people are just so, right now they're over Star Wars, and TLJ just really killed everything. Now I think there might be a little resurgence because people are going to want to see if it ties in with the Mandalorian, and see where maybe those little parallels are and whatnot. But I don't know that necessarily that's going to carry like interest for a whole 3-hour movie.
Well, one thing that the Deadline article doesn't point out is that not all the theaters are doing advanced ticket sales for the Rise of Skywalker.
This is true, yeah.
I was looking at it earlier this afternoon because I saw a tweet from RevKev, because he's out in Ottawa area, and he was trying to book tickets for that, and the theater was packed on his, and it's a pretty good popular theater, so that's good. And then I checked some of the stuff in my area, and then Toronto, and in the Hamilton and other parts, and yeah, they're all kind of booked up. And granted, Canada's like only 36 million people nationwide, so obviously
Right.
It's a lot easier for them to go see a movie and fill the seats of a theater, because you don't need as many theaters, they don't have as many people. But that's also kind of telling that they're not in a lot of screens, because again, with a 3-hour plus movie, that limits how many showtimes you can have in a theater per day. Usually that makes it 3 at most on a single screen, and average theaters are between 2 and 7 in Canada from coast to coast. We only have a few theaters that are like in the 14 or 15 or 20 screen range. So that's going to reduce the amount of plays it's going to have, but the runtime is going to hurt it more, and that's what they're probably going to report if there's a significant dip in the first weekend box office. Like if they don't break, say, 300 million that first weekend, they're going to say, well, it's due because it's a 3-hour plus movie, and you can't play it as much, even though they've got as many theaters as they can to have it. So that's going to be your first excuse. The second excuse that's going to come is during the second weekend drop, which a couple of my friends in LA are speculating it's going to have close to a 70% drop, just given the lack of proper advertising, the last 2 years of conflict with the franchise.
Right.
I know members of the Fandom Menace think that like the Lucasfilm comments about blaming fans and stuff is really going to hurt hard. It's actually more of a disinterest thing, I would suspect. I mean, that's a part of it, but that's not going to be the main reason why people aren't going to be watching.
Yeah, I feel like it's
People won't watch.
I feel like it's a disinterest thing. You know, that it's just one of those things where
It's a movie that has no proper build for the conclusion.
it's
Like,
exactly it. Yeah.
comparative to Empire, which wrapped up that story and then ended it with a cliffhanger of Han Solo frozen in carbonite, and is Vader telling the truth? Is he really Luke's father? Like, boom, that compels you to come back. What was left at the end of The Last Jedi to compel anyone to come back?
Nothing. There was absolutely nothing.
And it was the first movie that ended without a shot of a Skywalker. Like, it ended without the last shot being that of a Skywalker character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all the previous 6 movies, they ended with, you know, Anakin Skywalker was in the last shot of all 3, and then Luke was in the last shot of all 3 of his, and then this one here, he's in the last shot of The Force Awakens, but he's not in the last shot of The Last Jedi. It's some kid with a broom.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's going to happen with The Rise of Skywalker? Who knows? It's going to be 3 hours. It's co-written by the same guy that did Justice League and Batman v Superman, I think. And
Right.
both of those movies were rather compartmentalized scene-wise.
Yeah. Hi, Moira. Glad
Moira.
you're here.
Oh, DJ Odyssey's here too, and Brian. Hey. And Orange Hat, of course. Yeah, like it's there's lots of speculation. We have confirmation this week that some of those leaks are most definitely accurate, which is a little unsettling, but expected. And yeah,
I think the leaks. Yeah, I think the leaks hurt it too. The leaks definitely hurt it because, you know, when you look at that stuff, a lot of people feel like they just completely retconned the crap out of a lot of stuff, and if everything is accurate, then it completely just retconned the entire friggin' original trilogy.
Well, not only that, it kind of misses the point with
Validated
regards to
it.
how a Jedi defeats a Sith. And granted,
too.
a lot of the EU misses the point too originally. And it's only because Star Wars was so entertaining, so exciting. A lot of the nuance of it kind of gets put in your subconscious, and it's not active when you're trying to create newer stories, especially when you're trying to expand the lore of the Jedi. And it's to no one's fault other than like the creators, like George Lucas himself, kind of holding on to it, but really forgetting that stuff, because he told a great prequels trilogy of like, it's great Star Wars, but it's not a great set of movies. It doesn't tell the right stories of those characters' adventures, in my opinion. I think there are probably more character development stories and more pivotal adventures that could have been told in the prequel trilogy, aside from what we had been given. But I mean, they're good Star Wars movies. The Disney stuff, it's all incomplete. Like The Force Awakens, I didn't see it until like 3 or 4 months after it had debuted in theaters. And when I came out of seeing it, I'm like thinking it doesn't feel like a complete movie. It feels like it's only half the movie, but it's the same runtime. Like, where's the rest? Because Star Wars has been, like, even the prequel trilogy, Star Wars has always been one movie at a time, made up as it goes along, trying to have at least one contained story to add on to something later, if so happens there is going to be a later. Because the first Star Wars films, they didn't know they were going to make a sequel. After that first weekend, they thought, okay, we'll do a little short Splinter of the Mind's Eye thing. But Star Wars just kept on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then they brought in Lee Brackett, and they did Star Wars 2, and then she passed away. Lawrence Kasdan came in. They made it into The Empire Strikes Back. And then George had the idea, okay, after this one, I'm going to make 4 more back-to-back. But during the production of Empire, marriage fell apart. He ended up having more responsibility, employing all those people at ILM and Lucasfilm. And he decided, okay, I'm not doing any more movies like this. Finish it off with Jedi. And do his own thing. And of course, him getting kicked out of the Directors Guild and that all controversy did not help either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I understand the fandom saying there should have been a plan. I agree with in some semblance. There's 2 possible ways they could do it. They could have planned to just try to make 1 movie at a time as best they could. They should not have tried to release it a year after they had purchased Lucasfilm, like 2015. For The Force Awakens. They should have released it on the 40th anniversary, the first of the trilogy. Just give them that enough time to really get their feet wet, build a proper infrastructure within Lucasfilm, figure out exactly what type of story they want to tell, and then give you the best one so that, 2017, you got your 40th anniversary, 2020, you got your second movie, and then 2023, you finish off Episode 9, and like you've taken your time, you've done what you need to. You've built up your fan base that had been absent of epic Star Wars content of this type for, I guess, approximately 12 years. If it were like that's how it should have been handled. Instead, what Disney did is they bought it and they rushed.
Yeah,
and
they did. They
can't help but see that it's been rushed.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely. They've cut corners. They rushed everything else, man. And again, I do believe this is going to be like a hot mess. A lot of people are going to see it. Again, probably for the reason I've said many times, as I've stated on Twitter, it is a gawk at the car wreck situation. So that's why I think at this point a lot of people are seeing it. Okay, so the next subject we have. Oh God. Rosetta's going to opine on this one, I'm sure, because this is a Star Trek. This is a Star Trek subject. We go from Star Wars to Star Trek here, and I'll go ahead and share up this story. We have an update on the Section 31 TV show that has Michelle Yeoh in it. So I guess in an interview with Vanity Fair, the executive VP of All Access, she sort of explained the fact, said, we are very excited about the Section 31 show, and Michelle Yeoh is excited to do it. She is in the current season of Discovery, so she's working on that now. But we have scripts getting written, and Alex has a writer's room.
I'm sorry, who cares about Section 31, really?
I was going to say, Section 31's been made completely irrelevant by their horrible, horrible portrayal of it ever since. No.
Actually, I hated the idea that it was. I thought it was the worst part of that Deep Space Nine brought in. I think it was a big mistake for them to create such a thing.
It was a weird thing. It wasn't great in Deep Space Nine, but it's been worse ever since. It's pathetic.
Well, get this
concept, and it gives them an excuse to try to make the good guys the enemy. That's what it was.
Well, get this, you guys. When asked about the tonality of the show, Star Trek overseer Alex Kurtzman would answer, what we don't want is for you to watch one show and be like, well, I don't really need to watch that other Star Trek show because I've already watched Discovery or whatever. So to me, Section 31 is sort of like the Black Ops CIA division of Star Trek. And it was established in Deep Space Nine.
By mistake. They shouldn't have done it. I loved William Sadler, but...
Concept.
No, I loved William Sadler in the role of Sloane, dude. Absolutely.
Me too. But, I mean, there's not a role William Sadler has ever done that I haven't enjoyed. He's just that good.
Star Trek always was designed so that yeah, there were some continuation points, but it was designed so you didn't have to see every single episode constantly to keep up and watch something and get a good moral and a good story. So each episode had its own cerebral purpose. You didn't need to sit there and watch everything like a freaking zombie. It was always designed that way. It's just another way and list of about 5 billion things that he does not understand about what Star Trek is.
There's that. Also, I mean, the Ronald D. Moore, Brandon Braga, and all those guys, Irish Stephen Bear, they really changed what Star Trek was from the original series, because the original series Star Trek was about the human condition, the cerebral stuff. In the Next Generation timeline, it was more about the state of the galaxy, and I think it lost something because of that.
I think there was something to the original series that none of the others had. That said, the eras through the 80s and 90s Star Trek were not bad.
No, I'm not saying that they were bad. I'm saying they just kind of lost a focus, because like at the end of Voyager, and then at the end of, I guess, Nemesis, the film, you pretty much have established an alliance between all the major conflicting species in the galaxy. And as a result, it's like, okay, you've kind of lost the exploration part. You forged alliances with all 4 quadrants, essentially, except for maybe the Delta Quadrant, but whatever. So where's the exploration? Where's the back and forth between the adversaries? Like, okay, so the Federation and the Klingons have got a solid alliance now, and under Martok, and then now they forged an alliance with the Romulan Star Empire with Shinzon being killed, and you're like, well, those are the 3 superpowers of the quadrant. So what the heck's, like, if you're not going to be doing exploration, and it's all about, like, wars or tensions between political powers, you kind of just ended your concept right there.
We'll get this.
In Next Gen, I give it credit. There were things about exploration, about finding new parts of the universe, at least.
In the earlier seasons, absolutely, yeah.
But there was at least still exploration in it.
Yes.
And Deep Space Nine had some to begin with, and it lost a lot of that. I don't like what happened to Deep Space Nine in the last seasons. And not just the last season and all the weird stuff with Dax and all that.
The Dominion War.
Actress stuff, and forget that a sec. When they started focusing on the war and not the exploration, which is what Roddenberry always said he didn't want a show to be, they lost a lot of it to me.
Gene Kuhn was the same way. He didn't want it to be like he wasn't around, but at that point. But when he was doing Star Trek, he's like, this could fall into a really negative pattern of episodes, and that's what he kind of fought against. And then
because
like Deep Space, the Dominion War should not have been more as long as it was. It should have been like a third of a season, because they only had that great 2-parter episode where they go back to Earth and they've got that admiral trying to usurp the Federation government. Like that's great. That's perfect. Like internal exploration of like how much of a utopian society will we give up for security.
DJ
Odyssey, which is incredibly 31. Which is a very Star Trek type episode, very classic style of Star Trek episode, because it's got a universal tone. It's something you can watch today and completely see how it relates to what we're going on with ourselves and social media and the internet. But yeah, like Enterprise missed that too. They tried to go back to exploration and stuff, but then when they introduced the Xindi conflict and their own, like the Expanse version of whatever the heck that they were going inside, and then the Temporal Cold War, and then only in the 4th season towards the end did they actually start to find that sweet spot, and then sadly they got axed.
It's still better than what we have now.
Absolutely.
Nothing that is in any way, shape, or form Star Trek. And
the
thing is, they're just trying to expand that.
Well, here I want to blow your guys' mind. Listen, it gets crazier. Kurtzman says this occupies an area of the Trek universe that's never really been explored geographically. It has a new mythology to it, which is interesting, and it puts Michelle Yeoh's character to the test in a lot of ways that Discovery can't.
She's in the year 3000 something.
In some
Discovery, it's automatically going to be crap.
In some ways, it will be her Unforgiven, and he's comparing it to the movie Unforgiven, where remember it's the aged outlaw story who takes on one last job in
That's after his
retirement.
wife passes away, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Giorgio's gonna have a wife that passes away that motivates her to.
probably, dude. No one
Because
knows.
Kurtzman, I don't think understand. Kurtzman, Abrams, his whole ilk, they don't understand what the heart of what the story is. They recognize the
They'll give her a wife.
physicality of it, but they don't find the soul.
They'll give her a wife. Don't forget, you get extra woke points.
I don't care what her gender, what her race, any of that is. She's an insult to Star Trek. She is a diversity hire to the extreme. She knows nothing about the culture. She knows nothing about how to act the parts. She is an absolute freaking joke who does not get it.
Who, Michelle Yeoh?
Yes.
She's a great actress, though.
I haven't heard her make any comments on Star Trek.
Her in other roles. I'm saying she does not belong in Star Trek. She was hired for Star Trek because they wanted to have somebody they thought would look right. Because she doesn't understand what Star Trek is.
No, fair enough. I mean, I personally like her work. I think she's a good actress.
Yeah, and like I said, when I rant about them doing these diversity hires where they're picking people based on their criterias and not their abilities, I don't have anything against the actors themselves. They can be great in other parts, but you need to be fit for the role and understand the character and the story arc and the type of role you're being hired for. But then again, why would they do that when they have Alex Kurtzman, who doesn't know anything other than Mikey Spock and I like science?
Well, there's the thing here too. Like, if they were going to do if
Michelle Yeoh would only know as much about the character as the production staff would allow her to.
Yeah, and
Like,
there's also
I think there's two sides that have issues with it. I don't think from anything I've seen or heard from her, she understands what Star Trek really means either. So you combine that with them not getting it, writing it, and her not getting it, acting it. It's not a good combination.
Well, there's also,
I doubt she could get acting it when she's not being told how it's being written properly. Because there's remember, the Kurtzman stuff is completely separate from the traditional CBS series. And on top of that, Michelle Yeoh worked in completely different genres of Star Trek at the time. Like, even the actress that played Sulu's daughter doesn't know anything about Star Trek, like, at all.
Well, that's
like, and she was like right in there under all the people. Granted, it was like, only the first 10 minutes of the film, but she still knows nothing about it. Michelle Yeoh,
my whole point,
is only going to take this as a job at a time.
Because they didn't want people who actually understand Star Trek and the point of it. They wanted people who could go along with turning it into another version of Star Wars, all about the action and the scenery, and that was never what it was.
Well, I can tell you what the Klingon extras were told when they were getting fitted for their costumes. They said, you're being an alien species, and it's a very regal species. It's very much about royalty and art and culture. And I'm being told this by my friend who was an extra in Discovery, and I'm like, that's nothing Klingon at all. Like, they're warrior race. We don't know much about their scientific culture, but we do know that they're not regal, and they're not royal, and they're not
friends with the Sioux tribe. Several things in the Klingon culture he took from them. It was all based on warrior and honor code. It was based on being against a system that involved royals.
Oh my gosh.
But again, if this is what the crew is telling the cast, if they're completely missing the mark, that's what the actors have to go on to. Because again, not a lot of actors are going to be very integrated into the Star Trek culture. I mean, even the 2009 cast took some time. I think Bruce Greenwood was the only one that really knew what was going on, aside from Simon Pegg. The Next Gen cast, when they started, they had no idea. Right. Maybe Denise Crosby did, but it took them a while to really understand and get it appreciated. And the same thing can apply to Michelle Yeoh, because I do not doubt in my mind that if she was given a role properly written within the confines of what Star Trek is traditionally, she could knock it out of the park. But the thing is, she would be given the resources to understand and appreciate that type of role. But now I don't believe for a second she is, knowing what I know about Star Trek Discovery.
Now,
I think she and the rest of that cast are lost in that regard.
Yeah. Now, listen.
But this is Star Trek. Come on.
If there was a reason, if there was going to be a Section 31 show, I would do it from a logical standpoint of, starting it off with something somebody remembers. So, like, I would have flashbacks to Sloan. I would have, like, Section 31, like I would at least have like some sort of progeny of Sloane, a son, a daughter, somebody, involved in it so that there was a connection there, so that Sloane had some sort of legacy with Section 31. I wouldn't just have Michelle Yeoh come in cold out of nowhere where, all people know is just a little bit of her stuff from Discovery and a little bit the tidbits and bits and pieces that they've let through in that show. If you're going to do a true Section 31 show, they should have not had Michelle Yeoh attached at all. They should have just went with something more familiar to the fans.
Well, they can't do that because then they don't get to take all the profit from it.
Yeah, that's true. I understand that, but
different, right?
But having at least that tie-in, if you understand with what I'm saying here, at least there's a frame of reference somebody might understand and say, "Oh, that's familiar. That's Sloane's daughter. That's Sloane's kid."
Well, with the concept of Section 31, it'd be more practical if Sloane was just a clone, like constantly like the same guy over the generations, not necessarily same mind, but like it's just physically him. But I mean, unfortunately, what you're dealing with is a concept that directly conflicts with the ideologies of what Star Trek is, because they made Section 31 a part of Starfleet, and if they made Section 31 say something outside of Starfleet, something outside of the Federation, but still related to human beings, then you have something as an adversary as opposed to a corruption within the system. Because the thing that made Starfleet so good is that it was technically pure, and it was only pure because of the people involved with it. So whenever you had a bad entity involved in Starfleet, it would then be rooted out by all the good, positive characters setting the standard of the Federation. Mm-hmm. But when you have something like Section 31, which is pretty much always a deus ex machina, they always have the information, they always have a way to get out of tight events, they always appear just when needed. There's no drama. It's just really boring adversaries within. It's a parasite as opposed to it being an adversary.
Yeah. Odyssey said if you go by the Enterprise books, Trip Tucker ended up working for Section 31 to spy on the Romulans, which I remember.
I just don't know. Yeah, I just don't think the that very last episode was the real last episode of Enterprise. I also think Enterprise should not have been named Enterprise. I think that should have been the show called Discovery, because why name your flagship Enterprise in Star Trek? Because like the lore of the Enterprise name in the Star Trek canon did not come from anything like special. I think it was a freighter ship that ended up being a real help during the Klingon War, and as a result, they christened the first official Constitution class after that ship, the 1701. In honor of the crew and the ship for what they did during the Klingon War as a transport vessel. And that's my understanding of it. I could be completely wrong, because again, this is lore that I learned about in the early 90s, and it's been constantly rewritten since Voyager.
Odyssey, do you have confirmation on that? Odyssey says the books continued what season 5
oh, absolutely, yeah.
Could have been.
Yep, they did. I know that part. I just like concept-wise, I think it was like they had a good cast. They didn't have the best writing, but I don't think they should have called the ship Enterprise. I think that's what kind of hurt it, because how do you create a show about the foundation of Starfleet, and you make it live up to the legacy ship that it is? I think a new ship would have been far more appropriate. A new name.
I like Scott Bakula.
Me too.
So
I still think that Dean Stockwell should have been the Doctor in that show. It should have been Scott Bakula, Dean Stockwell as Captain and Doctor.
Yeah.
Because Phlox was just he didn't add anything really.
No, he was meh. I always thought he was a meh character.
And Malcolm Reed was also really unlikable in every regard.
But my
Tucker was great.
I mean, always like the reason I watched that show was pretty much Jolene Blaylock.
That's not why you watch Star Trek.
But it was for me.
She was probably the only cast member that was a diehard fan for Enterprise, because before her it was Jadzia Dax. She was a huge Star Trek fan. Terry Farrell,
Well, yeah. I mean,
before she got the role.
she ended up marrying the friggin' creator's kid. I mean,
No, she married Nimoy's son.
or was it Nimoy's kid?
Yeah. Nobody's married to Rod Roddenberry.
Uh,
Oh,
yeah.
why would they?
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
But yeah, everybody agrees there should have been at some point Dean Stockwell should have been in that show.
He was in one episode as an
Yeah.
alien. Not enough.
Yeah, no, he should have been an admiral. I agree with Odyssey.
Then you don't get to see him that often. Because the thing that, like, those two have great chemistry, right? So one of the things that you liked about the original series was the dynamic between the three, between Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. And you had the same sort of thing that you could have had in Enterprise between the captain, the engineer, and the doctor. Like, I mean, because the relationship between Archer and Tucker I liked. It was definitely underdeveloped, but when you did get a good set of their pairing together, it was fun to watch.
See, and Enterprise is where I completely dipped out.
A lot of people did, yeah.
Well, the problem he goes back to, again, Roddenberry was a friend of the tribe. There's specific things he took from the tribe for different cultures. Those things were the ones I was very protective of, weren't supposed to be changed in the character design. Those are the things when they changed them or tweaked them were more irritating to me. And they did script some of that stuff in the beginning of Enterprise, and maybe the rest of the show wasn't as bad, but it was hard for me to get over that.
But yeah, but Roddenberry was only 25% of Star Trek.
Oh, I know. He wasn't that. But again, there was a lot he put into it that was because he really was a friend to the tribe. And I have other issues with things he did. He was not a saint. And he wasn't perfect in the way he handled things. Don't get me wrong. But he did a lot to try to outreach to the tribes. And that's one of the things I respect about him. I completely admit he wasn't a saint and he screwed stuff up.
Oh, no, it's not even that. It's like he was what we call him like now is like a conceptual producer. Like he'll come up with some really great ideas, but he couldn't write to save shit. Like he was just really bad. When he did get that second pilot, he wrote like 3 of the 5 episodes, and immediately all 3 of them were like completely tossed aside, and Gene L. Kuhn had to come in and like work on with other directors. But like when Roddenberry came up with some ideas and stuff, they were good. A lot of people rolled their eyes when he came up with the IDIC because they knew why he came up with it. He wanted to do some merchandising on the side. But luckily there was Leonard Nimoy and a couple other staff writers were like, well, let's make this have some meaning beside it being to line Gene's pocket. And that ended up working out. And then, I can't remember the director's name, but the one who kind of helped Leonard Nimoy figure out who Spock was, like that was brilliant. That's what ended up making every writer who came to watch the show being shot before they turned in their scripts are like, okay, that's the character of Spock. We know how to do that. As opposed to just writing him like a computer, they figured out a nuance to him. And yeah, it was an amalgamation. And rest in peace to Dorothy Fontana.
Absolutely. Absolutely,
she worked on kid shows too.
Legend all the way.
I will have to actually sit here and go through a lot of stuff with Star Trek. That's just a little bit here, but no, the Section 31 was never a great concept. It was halfway tolerable the way they started it before they kept just pounding on it constantly, but it was never good. And now they can't stop it. They can't get over it. Nothing has been actually Star Trek other than in name only since fricking 2009. And I'm not saying the movies were necessarily bad if they would have tried to not make them Star Trek.
Well, I'll tell you.
Let 1 sec here, okay? I have a thought. But the problem is they've lost the soul. And the reason part of why they've lost the soul is because modern Hollywood's also lost a lot of that cerebral, intellectual, more relaxed attitude, and has gone for more glitz and glamour and flash and bang and pow.
Well, that's McGee, Michael Bay, J.J. Abrams. Those are the directors that kind of fueled that. Sadly enough,
J.J. freaking Abrams.
And the fact that Spielberg gave up on adventure films in the 90s, that kind of hurt as well. The last adventure film he did was Ready Player One, and you could tell watching that he was out of his game, out of his element. Like it's not what he was doing anymore. Joe Dante is probably the last good adventure director, and he doesn't. He's very selective of what he does, and good on him, because that's how you kind of want to do your thing. But yeah, we don't have adventure movies anymore. Anything with a great pace. It's usually set piece, tent poles, quick one-liners, wham bam, thank you ma'am, got your money, goodbye honey, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a small part of Hollywood that's actually got just a big influence right now.
And
Your horror directors are a bit better on their pacing, but the content is kind of lousy.
it's really tragic because there's such incredible things that could be done if we get over this stuff. And by the way, lay off of the lens flare. It just looks like you don't know how to work the camera.
Oh man, every cinematographer in Hollywood hates that. They hate the fact that he's like, he's my boss. I gotta let him shine a light in my lens and screw up my film.
Well,
contrary to what you learn in photography and cinema,
it's the exact opposite. Yeah, like you're only supposed to do that for like an exterior shot when you're looking at the sun for like that type of effect where you want to do a silhouette or something, not indoors.
One thing, I go out and do my stream and travel and stuff. It's one thing I was having lens flare issues trying to hold the camera up so that the people on stream can actually see that behind me on the lake in the sunlight are a whole bunch of swans. It's going to have flare.
Yeah.
That's one thing. To put it in these movies and shows and put it everywhere.
I get it.
Lens flare.
No, like lens flares work on exterior shots when you're outside, but when you're indoors and you get a lens flare, it's just what the heck's going on. And on top of that, it's supposed to have a type of thematic significance when it's done. It's supposed to allow you to refocus your eyes to a certain point on the shot, so that you know exactly what the scene is going to entail as it's coming in. It's drawing your eye to a focus point. And when you put that in an indoor scene and in every shot, it becomes distracting, and to some people who are sensitive to it, epileptic. And like, what the heck? Like I understand exactly what the cinematographer and crew was like at that time, because they're like, JJ was the one that was holding the flashlight into the lens himself every time. Like, he was not behind the camera, he was in front of it, shining a light into it.
Okay.
And in that position, a cinematographer can either walk off the set and lose their paycheck, or they can put up with it, try to do the best they can with this horrible addition from a director, and pray that they're going to be able to keep working. That director will eventually fade away. But that's probably not going to happen for another 8 more years for JJ.
Sensitive to it. And I think it's the same reason I rant about it so much, is my eyes are light sensitive, extremely light sensitive from growing up with seizures and not having proper retina. I think it's the same reason why Becca rants about it so much, is because she talks about her eyes don't handle light and flash as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that it does matter, because you want the most audience to be able to see it and appreciate the beauty without having issues. So ignore that there is a very large percent of the people in this country who have either seizures, light sensitivity, or just colorblind or other things, is not a good thing either, because you want to appeal to as many people as possible. Put aside views on why I think that it's ridiculous. You want to appeal to a maximum, not a minimum. And when you add those types of conditions together that I just added, it's over 70 million people in this country.
Sure.
Hard to chase away out of your movies.
So, the script doctor, why don't you touch on? I know that we going back to DC Fontana. Why don't you take a moment and touch on just how important she was to Star Trek franchise, and what exactly she contributed, other than the fact of Encounter at Farpoint, I know, but
well, she helped define the Vulcan species.
Yeah.
I know that. I also know that, I mean, the stigma at the time, at least outside of Hollywood, was that women didn't write. Inside Hollywood, nobody cared at all. Like, if you were a good writer, what have you, you were hired. She started as an assistant like every writer is in Hollywood at the time, and then she graduated based on her ethic and work. The only reason she went by DC, and it's a fair one, is because the public at large had a stigma about women writers.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't even really the large amount of public. It was just the loudest assholes of public had a stigma about female writers. Nobody really cared at that point. It was the 60s. The women's movement was in full swing. A lot of people were happy about it. Only old curmudgeons weren't. But she was also a very good character writer. Some of the best lines that Kirk had, some of his speeches that he gave for DC Fontana. I know her and Harlan Ellison used to butt heads a lot outside of, even though he only did the one episode, outside of that and the science fiction thing, they got along, but they would always have their own debates. And it would always end up in a stalemate because Harlan Ellison would never acquiesce, and neither would DC. And she also did, I think she worked on like cartoon shows like Transformers and Masters of the Universe and She-Ra and all those stuff. So she had a big influence on a lot of people. And the other part too is that she never, I mean, she did have an affair with Gene Roddenberry at the time, but he was also a smooth talker. So
I mean, Odyssey brings up a good point. DC Fontana was one of the 4 main people that got Star Trek going, period, and he's exactly right.
Yeah, the other 2 being Gene Alcoon, Gene Roddenberry, and Lucille Ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Lucille Ball loves Star Trek, and Lucille Ball. I mean, whenever they talk about how women had such a difficult time in the industry, it's like maybe, but you wouldn't, if it was really as bad as you say it is, you wouldn't have Betty White, you wouldn't have Lucille Ball, you wouldn't have Julie Andrews, you wouldn't have like so many people. At that time, sorry, Elizabeth Taylor, sorry, I'm just blanking on it because I haven't slept in a day and a half.
No, it's all good.
But like, there's a lot of prominent women you would see, like Betty Davis, for crying out loud. Like, they made it because they were good. Some slightly more beautiful than others, but they were actually good at what they did. The reason you just didn't see it too much, or it was never made a big deal. It's like, yeah, women can act and women can write and women can be funny. Like,
well, yeah,
it's there. Like, not everybody could be funny. Like, when Lucille Ball was around, she was literally 25% of the comedy that was being released at that time.
Yeah, Desilu Studio though was, I mean, that's like kept Star Trek afloat.
That kept CBS afloat too.
You know,
or NBC at the time. NBC at the time. Yeah, it was NBC. I get the companies confused at those ages, but yeah, NBC. They kept NBC alive for a while.
Mm-hmm. And you know,
and she almost bought Batman. Lucille Ball almost bought Batman after CBS canceled it.
Yeah,
and then they destroyed the Batcave, and they didn't want to rebuild it.
Things that were more geek culture. She was not just this little fluffy woman.
Oh no, she was a powerhouse. Like, Desi Arnaz hated her, even though they were in love for quite a while.
There was back and forth. They hated each other. They were friends with each other. They hated each other. They were married. It was weird.
Yep.
All right. So, you know, again, big credit and rest in peace and everything else from everybody here to DC Fontana, because you know, we definitely thank her for her contributions to Star Trek and to science fiction, because I mean, you know, she was awesome. She was awesome.
Yeah.
So,
and she wrote fan films of Star Trek too for those guys, some of the guys.
Yeah.
True. So, like,
all right. Good. You sound like you wanted to finish your thought. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to mention also another writer, but like he's a bit more flamboyantly weird. I don't want to bring him up.
Okay, no problem. Well, moving on, back into the present, guys. So it looks like today, if you notice on Twitter, which it's kind of hard because with us being in the Fandom Menace, we notice all the drama before anything else.
Yeah,
But
don't talk to me about mentioning things or finding things on Twitter.
yeah, right. We won't we won't touch that.
Freaking crap.
You know, and if anybody wants to know the backstory of that, like you know, with Rosetta being in Twitter jail for 12 hours, you can find just look at Mary B's tweets, and you can also go back and Rosetta's stream just before this one, and you kind of get the backstory. But
She's been in jail so much time, in Twitter jail so much, they must have a room for her.
Freaking crap. I didn't do anything.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying you did. I'm just saying, like, it's just kind of frequent and ridiculous.
Oh, DJ Odyssey throwing a little shade. Do you see this one? Ooh, DJ Odyssey.
If it wasn't Drew's stream, I would tell you where you can stick your tongue.
Oh, that was lovely. But he said he noticed Twitter was quiet today. She has a cell right next to the Senate.
Yeah.
Oh, and for those of you that might not know what we're talking about, you know, our buddy the Senate is a little, you know, flamboyant. It's the same as Rosetta can be quite have her flamboyant moments. So, you know, that's interesting little homage there. But no, on Twitter today there was a big like. Campaign like hashtag Alita sequel, and a lot of people want, you know, a lot of fans want a sequel to Alita Battle Angel. Well, it trended on Twitter pretty good today, and you know, people are trying to just get the idea out there to Disney, like, hey, I mean,
another new franchise.
This is something that has merit. People enjoy it. You know, God, what was her name? Rosa Salazar.
Yeah,
that played Alita. She did a very good job, and she's a wonderful action and adventure actress. You know, I think that, you know, well, it's my hope that it gains traction. I hope Disney goes forward with the sequel.
That's hard to say because I think Robert Rodriguez and James Cameron own a part of that property for release and like media release outside of the manga, and Disney's not really that pleased with those two guys. They have their own thing because James Cameron's a big Fox loyalist, and now that Disney owns Fox and it's not Fox anymore, James Cameron's kind of all for himself right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's at least the stuff that I hear. Robert Rodriguez is an independent filmmaker and a great one. I love the stuff he does, even if I don't always agree with the choices he makes. He at least swings for the fences, and it's fun, always fun. I thought his Planet Terror was like great hokey grindhouse style.
Oh, dude, that stuff was great. Yeah, I liked that. I actually liked those movies.
Yeah, and I also enjoyed his machetes and or machetes, however you want to say it.
Mm-hmm.
And
give me that machete, man.
Yeah, but like, yeah, I mean, I like his stuff, but I don't. He's it's called Troublemaker Studios for a reason because he doesn't always like take suggestions or orders well, especially if he doesn't see an advantage to it. Like he's very much a hands-on director. Like most of the times he says the movie was shot by him as opposed to being directed by him because that's what he feels like what he did. He picks the best actors for the role that know just from reading the script what to do with it, and he doesn't really have to give them much communication. That's how he works, and that's why he gets such good results. He should be bigger than what he is, but I like how he's taking his career. He's making sure he's in control and that he's accountable to what he does.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Was Hobo with a Shotgun him? I thought there was a bunch of Canadian guys that got the feature for it, and he just co-produced.
Yeah,
But
I don't know, but I know that, like I said, man, I hope this takes off because an Alita sequel would be intriguing and actually pretty good. I
if they
think.
could tighten it up compared to the first one, because the first one was entertaining, but it did have a bunch of little issues, like little ones that weren't enough to ruin the movie, but enough to take me out here and there. Um, but that's understandable because they've been working on this movie for like almost 20 years, like just trying to get it. Its title has changed so many times to the point where people got it confused with the Dark Angel TV series and the Battle Angel film project that James Cameron was involved with.
Yeah, which I don't know how that could happen.
Well, it's just too many angels, right?
Right.
But that's how Hollywood can work sometimes. Um, yeah, it just depends because I bet you I bet you that depending on how well or how poorly Rise of Skywalker does, until that happens, they're not even going to consider Alita a viable franchise to pursue yet. They're still betting that Star Wars is going to do gangbusters, and if Star Wars clears 2 billion throughout its entire run, we're not going to see another Alita Battle Angel unless some other studio decides to buy the rights from Disney and
Right.
make it. In which case, I would say Paramount should do it, or maybe Sony, because Sony needs something besides Spider-Man. And Ghostbusters is still going to be touchy, even though it's got a better direction behind it and actually a completed script. Like Ghostbusters 2016 did not have a completed script. That's why it was improvised most of the time, and that's why it fell flat mostly.
Yeah.
We don't have to mention the other stuff because that's been said a million times, but it fell flat because it was unstructured. The comedy didn't land because it was improvised as opposed to, and it wasn't even improvised properly. It wasn't the whole like the other rest of the cast members trying to boost one cast member in that scene up to land a joke. It was all them just trying to steal the spotlight for themselves, and that's not how you improvise. Um, so yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I like Jason Reitman. I think Thank You for Smoking is the best movie he's made. The other ones are enjoyable, but Juno was sweet and cute, but it was basically a waiting game. I mean, she solved her problem at the start of that first act, and is just waiting for that kid to come forward, and all the emotional stuff in between, and the other character development, fun, but it felt like it was the wrong focal point.
Right.
His the George Clooney one where he's traveling around firing people, that was okay, but I can't remember much of it, so clearly not his best. So, and Ghostbusters he grew up with, man. I mean, like, he was a toddler when the first one came out. He was featured in the second one, making fun of the Ghostbusters as a kid, and he knows the genre. So,
What was refresh refresh my memory, guys. What was Hobo with the Shotgun?
Rutger Hauer film.
Wasn't that just the Hitcher?
Nope, that was in the 80s. Hobo with a Shotgun was done in 2000s. It was during the Grindhouse, Planet Terror, and Death Proof
Oh,
run. So there's a competition online where if you made like a short film trailer of a Grindhouse film, and if the best one would be turned into a movie. And a bunch of these guys out east in Canada did Hobo with a Shotgun, and it garnered them the opportunity to make the movie. I think Troublemaker Productions co-founded it, and then they got some professional writers and stuff in to make it. Rutger Hauer came in, and me and my buddies at the time, I'll see if I can try and find it, but we made a fake trailer for like the sequel to Batman Begins. So Rutger Hauer's character in Batman Begins gets fired, and then he ends up being a hobo with a shotgun. Like we did that type of trailer montage.
nice.
So I'll see if I can find that around. I might have it just on DV tape and have to convert it, but
Hobo with a Shotgun. That just sounds freaking epic.
it's actually a really funny movie. Very much in line.
I just love that phrase, the way you said it. This is just freaking beautiful.
So the next, by the way, guys, the next interesting little tidbit we have, I know that a lot of you guys in the chat are Stargate fans. I'm a Stargate fan.
Yes.
I loved SG-1 in Atlantis.
Yeah, sadly, not a lot of people like Universe. I understand why.
Some people like Universe. There's a split opinion on that, but
it didn't get its time to get its legs. That's what I think hurt it. It got canceled too soon.
But kind of wanted to throw this one up and share this. Let's see here. We'll share this story real quick. Actually, it isn't really worth sharing because it's just a little video clip. But I guess tomorrow we're gonna have the tweet storm that Joseph Malazzi is gonna put out for trying to get a Stargate show, an in-canon Stargate show made. So we're going to get a big tweet storm and campaign to try to get Stargate back in some form or fashion
screw it up.
So I guess we're going to have to push for Core Nemec to be the leader of the new unit.
The same people, Rosetta, are making it.
I know. I'm saying yes, please. As long as they're in and they're not going to screw it up, I'm all on that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they're
Richard Dean Anderson's retired. He's not going to come back unless it's a big paycheck and it's only going to be for a very short time.
Well, they'll probably bring back Mitchell. They'll probably bring back Ben Browder.
Well, I hope they bring it. Like Core Nemec was in that, right? So they can bring him back.
Yeah, they can bring him back at any time.
Yeah,
because he's still technically alive. So, but the thing is they're looking to get an in-canon show, and they either want to get this on television or on a streaming service. But it looks like they're like kind of petitioning to get it on a streaming service. So they're going to do a big campaign. If you guys want to join in the campaign, you can look for it tomorrow. It should be around
8 p.m., right?
2100 EST.
9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
Yeah. So 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 1800 Pacific.
6 o'clock Pacific.
Yeah. So basically, all that they lay out for rules is we will post a hashtag to @StargateNow on Twitter 15 minutes before the event. Do not use the tag before the designated time. Include only one hashtag per tweet, which is the one they give you. Retweets are important. Don't use quote tweet. Less is more. Keep your tweets fairly short. GIFs and pictures will help them trend faster, and make sure that your account is public and you have location set. So that's kind of what they're asking for participants for the tweet storm campaign tomorrow. So if anybody wants to participate in that,
that's market research right there.
There it is.
Yeah, that's your market research. Figure out your demographic, what areas of the country that would watch the show.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be their data numbers to see how much people want this. So,
yeah, I know. I'm definitely gonna check it out. I'm definitely gonna participate in it because, again, I want my Stargate back.
I mean, I understand that, but we still have the original film plus the two really solid series. I mean, they're not going anywhere. It's always good to watch. I mean, I met two of their character actors way back at like a film festival. They made a movie called Beast of Bottomless Lake, which is kind of like a Loch Ness of Canada out in the West Coast. Nice. And I met them as they were promoting that film. And they talked about how like Stargate's one of the best shows they've ever worked on because they're character actors. They move around from set to set a lot. Mm-hmm. And all they said is like they would be brought in for like literally a 20-second shot. And most times when they're brought in for that, like a day player thing, they're usually like tossed aside by others, cast and crew for whatever other show. But with Stargate, it was like a big party every time someone came on set. It was like, yes, we got this guy back. That's great. We love this. It's like family and continuity and the long form storytelling. And they just gushed on and on about it. And they were really disappointed that the show wasn't continuing on to like a fourth series. They thought they were going to be the parallel Star Trek, like SG-1, Atlantis, Universe, plus another series after that, and then just see how far they could take it. But that unfortunately was not the case. But at least there was it was a really good professional and welcoming production. So if the same guys are coming back for that and they can hit the nail on the head again, everybody's going to benefit.
Yeah, Mark Lursa says, "Did you guys hate Origins? I didn't mind it. Origins, to refresh people's memories, that was like a little short series they put on YouTube, to kind of, again, it's like Script Doctor just said, they're gauging interest in a new show, everything. So
yeah, that takes place in the 60s, right? Like they
yeah,
find the thing in the 20s, and then the 60s they start figuring out what the technology was. It slipped by me because I only ever saw little press releases of it, like blips.
I didn't find it too bad when I watched it on YouTube. I mean, I thought it was pretty good. So it didn't deviate from the lore or anything. So I found it to be okay.
Well, the lore is limitless. I think that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
I love what they did with the Asgards, expanding it out to not just being gate portal jumping, but like also interstellar ships.
Rosetta likes to go Auld. I said, do you like to go Auld?
I like almost any villain.
Oh, the symbiotes and the parasite. Yeah, those are cool.
Look, almost anything that's a villain in shows and movies. That's the way I kind of latch onto. I've always played villains in everything I do. So hey.
Well, it's because you're not evil in real life. That's why.
Are you sure about that?
If you're attracted to villains in fantasy, you're not usually doing it in the real world.
I know it's the same way with. Never mind. I won't talk about that on this channel.
Like what you do with your husband, that's different. I'm talking like you're not hunting down people trying to run them over with your car, even though you want to.
Say the whole thing about same with submissive and dominant personalities switching in other ways. But I don't go into the details.
Whoa. Okay.
Psychology. That's all it is. We're not talking anything detailed here.
We'll save that for Rosetta's stream. Thank you.
There we go. We could have the psychology sofa with Rosetta.
Villains and I'm a good girl.
Okay. So
Dad here is the reason I kept turning the camera off is I went and jacked my goddaughter's headphones.
Nice.
Oh, Brian wants to see a relaunch of SG Universe. Hey, I would love to see them pick it up where they left off, or at least some time gap.
Enough credit for what it did have.
Yeah,
what, Universe,
because it stumbled a bit. It was trying to be a bit more edgy, and then it kind of came back.
It's kind of hard, Script Doctor, because you already got the one guy in Treadstone.
They can do both. I mean, they finished shooting Treadstone ages ago.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm just goofing.
Actually, should we talk about yesterday's episode of Treadstone?
We are gonna get to that shortly.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got nothing to talk on that one. I haven't had any chance to try to deal with that, so I'll just sit in the corner and watch you guys yammer.
Yeah, we're getting to that shortly, but yeah, I am hoping that this little, I guess, market play goes well, so that the Tweetstorm thing gets some traction and they can get they can sort of get the ball rolling for some Stargate, because
they got to gauge. This is what they're doing it for. They got to gauge to see if there's a market for it still. I mean, as big as Stargate was at the time, it was still considered like a second stringer to Star Trek. And I would say that's actually a huge accomplishment because it was on the radar. Like that's fantastic. There were a lot of other sci-fi shows that came out around that time that just vanished. But Stargate kept going. So yeah, well, I'm crossing my fingers. It'll be great to see, not necessarily a revival, but just like another series of Stargate.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, the very last thing that we had from Bounding that popped on, we had an early story this morning. Zack Snyder revealed a photo indicating that yes, indeed, the Snyder Cut is real. So for anybody out there that wondered if the Snyder Cut was BS, it is indeed real.
Yeah, the photo looks sketchy to me because it's difficult to tell if that film can is the entire film, because if it is, it's a fake because they don't put the entire film on a single roll film can.
Also,
There was like 3 of them stacked.
Yeah, but they were marked for like 240 minutes in each can, which makes it look like it was copies made, and that's not how it's done at all. Projectors have multiple reels of films for movies, especially if they're over 90 minutes, and they don't put it in a single can when they transport it. So, I mean, I believe there's footage, and I believe that Zack Snyder has most definitely worked on it on his own time because he has access to it. And I would not be surprised if he has everything all in place of where it should be and minor special effects and stuff. I don't dispute any of that. I just think he's doing whatever he can to get that extra money he needs to finish it and put it out there to keep himself relevant in the business. And I give him props for doing that. But people seem to forget that Justice League was supposed to be 2 parts, 2 films released, 2 hours each. And now he's saying it's one long film, about 3 hours and 3 and a bit hours, which seems about 45 minutes shorter than what we were told and what was planned right before all the changes. So a lot of stuff is not lining up there. I think it's only a couple of us that were paying attention remember that, and everybody else is kind of just excited for the fact that they're going to get to see something closer to what Zack Snyder was intending. But there's just a lot of stuff that's still not adding up there. And who knows? Maybe Zack Snyder decided to trim it down. He could have, but the photos that he had there, they looked like individual film cans of the same movie, just multiple copies that would have potentially been released to theaters, like via courier. And because the first can didn't say 1 of 4 or anything like that on it, it just had like the full runtime. It just doesn't. It seems kind of reckless. It seems like the person who made that photo wasn't real. Like, it just didn't seem real. The photo didn't seem real. Not that the movie doesn't exist. I think the movie kind of exists in some form, but I think that photo is kind of a fake.
I don't know. I feel like, the actors wouldn't jump on board and risk their reputations to endorse.
They would get paid for that movie, though. They'd get another paycheck for a Snyder Cut film. So they have lots of incentive to have it released.
Well, we will wait and see. I think it's real, but then maybe again I could be getting bamboozled here. So
You probably.
Well, I mean, I only think the photo's fake. I don't think that the Snyder Cut doesn't exist. I think there's no point.
No, I think the Snyder Cut exists. I believe it does exist.
Yeah. I just think that photo's fake because I know how they ship movies and I know how they store them, and they don't store them exactly like that. Not in that case.
All the guys I don't really care.
The script doctor's like, it's a fake.
It's a fake. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think Zack Snyder just did that to sort of do the troll, get the thing going. That's fine. I would not be surprised if in a couple more weeks he releases another photo of something a bit more plausible to that. Maybe like a picture of like a Adobe Premiere with some edited cuts or something. Who knows? But yeah, he's doing this to stay relevant because he's not making anything right now. And personally, I find his behavior over the last couple of years, given his situation, to be completely counter to what a person who's gone through the stuff he's gone through has gone through, which sort of telegraphs a lot of other things that I don't want to get into. But I think he's just doing this to stay relevant because he knows if he doesn't, he's not going to get another directing job for a very long while.
Yeah, probably. You're definitely not wrong about that, dude. Just
Mine's a speculation. I could fully be wrong, but like the one thing that I'm pretty confident in knowing is that he's doing this to stay relevant, and he should. I mean, he can make some decent stuff, so why not let him keep going? And he's better than J.J. Abrams, so yeah.
Yeah, but almost anything is.
The Uwe Boll is kind of like, a little bit worse, but not by much.
I said almost.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, like Zack Snyder's doing this because number one, he lost his contract with WB, and JJ got the new one. So yeah, he's pretty much trying to establish like, okay, you're getting JJ and you're going to be disappointed, and you could have still had me. But I mean, that's not how you want to have that relationship. It's like, yeah, you were slightly better, but you still weren't what we deserved. And we definitely don't deserve JJ, because that's an insult to everyone that's going to be spending money on DC properties.
God, he's gonna mess that up.
He is. I'm gonna reach out again to Tom over at Midnight's Edge and try and see if we can do a live stream of his Superman flyby script, just to completely deflate JJ, because that script circulated around the net, and that's technically public knowledge right now, and might as well just release it as like a fan thing. They can't shut us down for that. Just get a bunch of YouTubers in to read various parts. 90-minute stream.
YouTube table read.
Yep, YouTube table read of a JJ script. You can make pause breaks to make fun of like the bad lines and the stupid decisions, and then jump right back into it.
I'll just say I could see Tom doing it.
Yeah, oh man,
I've got that script. Like I have that script, and I am ready to. I'll share it with anyone who wants it.
I will happily help you facilitate that with Tom if you want to help.
Yeah,
stick it right now to him.
Oh man.
Oh, I'm pretty sure he has a script too. With what we talked about the other day.
Something tells me.
Tom's my boy. He's
something tells me. Script doctor, the thing that we were starting to come up with a Starsha and whatever the defense.
Oh, your book, yeah.
The Defense Force is going to be. I think that's better than probably that script that you got. Just that little tidbit.
Yeah. Well, one thing I'll always give props for is JJ does know how to find the right writers to have some good one-liners and good little trade backs and forth, but they're only good on their own. Once in the entirety of the context of it, it's just falls flat. But yeah, I would do that. I'd probably do the late great Tom Mankiewicz's Batman script from 1980. That's actually a pretty good one. Like barely anybody's ever read that script. But it's a really good Batman one.
Our esteemed other panelist, Brian the Gravedigger, says, dude, I totally support a YouTube table read. I'm guessing, by the way, Brian, tonight you must not be
a reliable internet source
on the technical side, so I hence probably why you're not in here.
There we go. YouTube Tuesday Table Reads, where we take terrible scripts from terrible directors and expose it to the world before they make the movie.
That would be great, dude. You can do that. That would be awesome.
Find some old David S. Goyer scripts. Really see what people see his work when it's not edited and directed by better people.
So where exactly did we last leave off on Treadstone?
Sue Young was in the club.
She's kicking it in the club.
The Kentucky couple with the wife who got the really bad wig. They were driving somewhere to stop an assassination.
Yes.
The guy that shot up the convenience store was with the CIA agent, and they were heading back.
Yeah, he was with Matt.
The journalist watched her friend get shot in the face and lost the Bitcoin, which I think the joke's on the bad guy because that stuff's probably worthless by now. And Petra found Yuri, and she's in Monaco or something. Just chilling, I guess, because they're selling the Stiletto 6 to the North Koreans.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do we didn't get a flashback. the flashback. He dropped the acid, got back with Petra, and that was about it. I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's episode 6.
and Petra basically, did a heel turn on her compatriots and totally sided with the with her American boyfriend, and they dipped, at least in the 70s flashback they did.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's her story to tell us how she ended up being on the farm for however many years.
yeah, so
Yeah, no flashback this week episode, Mark. That's right.
so yeah, getting into episode 8. I know and pretty much you start off with the thing. And by the way, guys, yes, we're spoiling Treadstone because we're reviewing it episode by episode. If you're not caught up, go to usanetwork.com, watch Treadstone, catch up on it. It's a spinoff that expands the Bourne universe and sort of shows some interesting things in the lore, like where did the Treadstone come from after, stuff that happened after Blackbriar, all that. You can get really cool insight if you watch this show. And there's
Yep.
some really cool action sequences in it and everything else. So I encourage everybody out there, if you like good fight sequences, I mean, this show is like second to none in those. So make sure that you check it out. Make sure you just grab your favorite beverage, grab your favorite snack, and just binge the crap out of it because it's worth it. You can go to usanetwork.com, like I said, and just think all they ask you to do. You can watch one episode for free, and then all they ask you to do is just type in the name of your cable provider, and your password that you use for that, and then there you go. You can just watch episodes as you want.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good method for those that can afford like a cheaper cable package, but not do all the individual streamings, because some of the websites are doing that, which is, I think it's smart. That's what I do, because my sister has cable, I don't, but I chip in every once in a while, and I get her password to watch television shows.
Yeah. So, getting back to the episode, we start off in episode 8. The young couple with the guy from Stargate Universe and his wife, they're going into they're in that house. He tries to get to the guy to save him, and everything else, and they're in the aftermath of the explosion because they tried to booby trap the house.
Yeah, the guy tried to bomb them. Yeah.
Yeah, and that didn't work, except for the fact that the wife and the
She had a
husband
knife in her stomach or something from the explosion or debris.
yeah, she was severely injured.
Yeah, she was goner for the start of that scene.
Yeah, she was close to being a goner, and then she was a goner. There was a really good fight scene between he and
The other guy. I mean,
hitman that was sent.
it was a good fight, but I didn't like all the quick cuts because it kind of staggered the flow. Because they were doing like that gun fu thing in the middle of it, and I thought that was kind of like superfluous. The fights earlier on in the series were far better shot than this one.
Yeah.
Because it was like so many quick cuts. Like he gets thrown into the wall, and you get 2 cuts of him being thrown into the wall, to the point where you could tell like they just didn't they didn't want to actually do any heavy physical stuff because they didn't want to risk an injury, which is fair, but there are better ways to do that, as opposed to like you cut right during the throw and then you cut right into an impact, so to make the illusion look like you threw him into the wall when really you just kind of gave him a light push. But that's just something my eye can catch. I guess other people are fine with it, but yeah, I thought the fight choreography was good, but the filming of it throughout the whole episode was substandard to what we've seen before.
Yeah, it seemed like visual wise this episode was off just a little bit. I think with the with, like you said, with the way it was shot. I did enjoy the fighting sequence, although like some of the gun parts were silly. And the
Yeah.
fight sequence was like long. It was like 3 minutes long.
Yep.
It was like a long fight, dude.
I
So,
like the brutality of it. I mean,
oh yeah,
that's the one thing I try to reconcile whenever I do watch these like hour-long shows with action sequences like that. It's like, oh, but are they doing something cool or fun with the fight choreography? Because we all know it's going to be filmed as safely as possible, so that number one, you kind of understand what's going on. Number two, you can have that wow moment. And number three, uh, for the practicality of it, no one's actually really getting hurt when they're shooting it. And yeah, like the stuff in Treadstone, it's top notch. Like compared to like your Supernatural, your Riverdale, your Arrowverse shows, it's template crap
oh god, it's
garbage.
the light years ahead of me.
And then yeah, Treadstone is like just going full tilt. It's like yeah, let's have fun with this. I can't remember who the director of this episode was, but I think it was the first time they did this episode. I think it was the first time they did this one before, no repeat
Yeah,
directors, and it kind of showed because there was also some shaky cam and bad shaky cam
yeah. I
during
know.
that part. But Sue Young's story was fantastic.
Oh god, dude. Yeah. So
Uh, like so
so
good. You highlight it out first because I want to hear your take on that.
so as we go on, obviously after he fights with the hitman and everything, um, conveniently he looks just like the hitman that he killed. So so the oil rig worker and his wife, they're like, I got an idea. Maybe I should take his identity. And she's like, well, yeah, he's this, and this, and explains, the way that it could work. And so you see them exit frame. They're gonna go and look for this guy's place, whatever. So and move on, and then we get into like, didn't they kind of move into the stuff with Tara first before they got to Sue Young? Because it was like, where they showed her going to Russia to see her, the guy that used to give leak her information and give her outlines for her stories and stuff.
Yeah.
I
Crap.
forget what his name was.
Yeah, me too. I can't. But he's the CIA guy, right? No.
No, 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 no.
Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of something else. Sorry. Yeah.
This was the guy that her contact for stories and things like that.
Yeah, the nurse's contact. I can't remember him. Yeah.
Yeah, welcome back, Moira. So yeah, they had she met her contact in Moscow that Tara did that she met the guy that used to give her leak that had originally leaked her the information about Stiletto
Her
6.
original source. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like an information broker basically.
Yeah, or like you're led to believe like he's one of the hacker cells that Russia has, but he's like outside of what Russia does.
Yeah, he's just still like an information broker type dude.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly, Mark. And so they're talking, and she says, "Hey, I need info on Treadstone and Stiletto 6," and then they start trying to dig stuff up for her and whatnot. And so then basically she's going over all that, and then later on it cuts to Sue Young, and we see Sue Young like kicking it in the club.
Yep.
And she's
She meets up with Yuri inside the club.
she meets up with Yuri and
Plants a bug.
and plants a bug, which again they do. It's funny how these agents just know all this stuff. They could just like whip up these cool like like listening devices on the fly.
Well, yeah, they're sleeper agents trained for all sorts of situations. We don't know how long or how detailed they were, but it's kind of weird and also a little bit fascinating because it is an explanation. I mean, it's kind of a thin one right now, but I think it'll be fleshed out as the series wraps up. But yeah, like they go through this intense training to get information to complete their assignment, and Soo Young's accessing that kind of randomly, but in the right direction that she needs to go. Because like she doesn't know why she knows how to speak Russian or Mandarin or English. Like she just doesn't know. She just knows that she can.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I like that approach to it because she has a little bit of fear when she realizes this information as it pops up.
Yeah. But it's like her training also kicks in where it fits like a glove too. Like
The survivalist stuff. Yeah.
Like she fears it and doesn't question it.
Yeah. Embraces the chaos.
Yeah, exactly. And I find that like pretty cool. But so she's listening in, finds out that basically the bombshell drops that the colonel, the guy that is selling the Stiletto 6 or buying the Stiletto 6, excuse me, from Yuri, he spills the tea that hey, it's going to be like Soo Young's husband that's going to take the fall because, he's just like basically 100% completely dedicated and doesn't know better.
Yeah, they're using him as a patsy to start a conflict to put North Korea on the path to a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
And the general is going to be trying to usurp, I guess, Kim Jong-un or whoever's king in this version of the show.
Yeah. So there's that developing, and then Soo Young hears, and then I didn't necessarily like it that Yuri just happened to glance out and Soo Young just sees a ruckus, and it's just like the completely random thing. He's like, "Who's that?" And then it just
there should have been some sort of thing that happened to get their attention to direct in that, but that was kind of pulled off a little poorly. But the motivation that Soo Young got from that point of like, I'm going to save my husband and rescue my son.
Oh yeah,
drove the rest of that action set piece perfectly.
Yeah, it did. And then there was the whole like she was trying to get out of the club, and she winds up stealing a vehicle, and she's getting chased. Like she has a pretty mini chase sequence with the cops chasing her and whatnot.
It was a little contrived in the club that they cleared a path for her when she was doing stuff. But
well,
aside from that,
she's just like
she hadn't even shot her weapon yet.
She's like sashaying through people, like guys are coming at her with guns. She's just beating their ass, and then like it's just done in such a good way though. And then
she's beating their ass with weapons, like a wine bottle and then a serving tray, and
this is great, dude.
Yeah, like she's doing it with weapons to accommodate for her size. I mean, that's such a nice thing to see. It's so rare.
So she makes it out of the club. She commandeers the vehicle. She gets she's getting chased by the cops. She makes it to the U.S. embassy, and then she has the presence of mind to pull in like right up to literally right up to the embassy gate, and then she gets out and says, hey, look, I have information that can help your CIA. Please, help me. And then the
Chinese officer tries to arrest her. Yeah.
They're trying to arrest her like right then and there, and the Marines at the gate are like, "Nope, American soil, GTFO."
Yep. Let's bring her in to at least figure out what she knows.
Yeah.
If she doesn't know anything, they'll just kick her out. So I mean, there's no harm, no foul on their end. I've traveled a lot, and I've had the fortune of having a U.S. embassy help me out when my Canadian embassy wouldn't, and they're great. Like, I got stranded in a country, and I was like, listen, I got no money. I have my passport. What can you do for me? It's like, we'll put you on a plane and we'll send you an invoice for a ticket. I'm like, great. My own country wouldn't do that. Like, well, what'd they do? They said, find a job locally and buy a ticket. I'm like, they said, no, that's not right. I'm like, yeah. But yeah, I got back home and, paid for my ticket. Wasn't that much. They got me a good cheap rate. I was like, thank you, U.S. government. Like,
Nice, dude. But yeah, I thought that thing with Soo Young, I thought that went pretty good. You know,
Yeah, she has the strongest story within the series.
and she's so hot. Oh my god.
Yeah, but she also has the most to lose.
Hmm.
Um, so like they
Dude,
don't do a great job telegraphing her wanting to go back to a normal life, but it's there.
but oh god, Soo Young in the blue dress though. Oh my god. Just give me a second to think about it. Okay, so yes, Soo Young's story was probably the highlight of the show for me, and then like we cut back to
The
you know
CIA agent.
obviously yeah the CIA agent stuff, and Michelle Forbes' character is obviously conflicted because they've got the hit team about to close in on him and everything, and you know basically she has to make a decision if he's going to live or die, and that was interesting. Kind of figured he would get killed off. I kind of figured the other guy would, and that's pretty much what happened. A CIA agent goes back in, whatnot, what have you, gets uh, debriefed to a degree by Michelle Forbes, and then she says, "Well, go home." Blah blah blah. Um, Her boss is like, put a surveillance package on him because on the way out, before he goes back to his vehicle, he decides to snoop around and go on the company database and find out who it is that lady was that had activated the guy that he just had been traveling with that got killed.
Yep.
So
Yeah, like and then they revoke his access right away, and
yeah, and they revoked his act, and that was a good touch too, because it's like gives it an air of like, okay, there's some actual like consequence here, because not every show would have picked up on that, and you would see like him get immediately like locked out like after being in the system for like only like 2-3 minutes, so yeah, that was pretty good, and then it cuts to Michelle Forbes' boss, where he's saying, "Well, put a full surveillance package on the guy." Then we cut to commercial. We come back, and we're back with the oil rig worker and his wife. They're at the now at the address for the apartment of the deceased hitman that had gone after the last people. So since this looks just like the guy, he goes ahead and shaves himself bald, and then he basically takes on the guy's identity. His wife is telling him like, okay, this guy knows all this stuff, everything else.
he's getting retrained
Yeah,
to blend in.
he's getting he's basically getting told all the nuances that this hitman had known and everything that his cover identities and all that. So he's obviously going to blend in as this guy and moving forward. And I know earlier in the episode, the wife said that she might go back into Treadstone and what have you. And
Try to get her become this new guy's handler, I guess, is what her goal would be.
yeah, so we'll probably see something develop out of that um, in the coming episode. But basically, after we get done with that sequence, it goes back to Tara. Um, she had called the CIA agent Matt. Matt tells her to go ahead and track down that lead because Tara explains to him that, like, hey, I found Yuri Lenyov, blah blah blah, and then I'm tracking down like because she had learned about Petra.
Yep.
So, Matt says, we'll go check her out and then get right back to me. So, the last we see of the episode is she's heading to Petra's farm. She gets out of the car, knocks on the door. Petra lets her in. And then, obviously, right before it fades to black, we see Petra, is closing the door with one hand. She's got her Makarov behind her back. So,
Yep.
we don't know what's going to happen, but they kind of want to give you the cliffhanger, like, oh, is Petra going to kill her or not?
There's going to be an interrogation.
My suspicion is Petra's not going to kill her. I think they actually will just sit there and chit chat. And Petra, obviously, it's heading to the direction I believe Petra is going to help her because she wants to find the answers too.
Yeah, she doesn't want Stiletto 6 to be used either. So, and there's only 2 episodes left, so they're gonna have to do some pretty fast-paced resolution.
Yeah. So,
but I think what's gonna happen is that Treadstone's gonna be exposed at the end, and that's what's gonna be the cliffhanger for the series.
Yeah, and my take was, I thought this was a good episode. If I were to give it a score out of 10, I would give it. I would give it around a 7.5. I thought it was well done. Sue Young's storyline again definitely shined to me. I thought that it was well done. It was really. Hey, Senate, how are you?
Hey, Senate.
It was well done. It was really just. It was paced well and had some cool twists and turns in it. So.
Sorry, Senate. I'm sorry. You don't get YouTube notifications because they suck. And because you're cussing like a little sailor. A little 16-year-old sailor.
So proud of that kid.
I know, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm kind of glad I never had.
But Script Doctor, what was your take on the episode?
Aside from a little bit of the cinematography and direction part, pretty solid. I'd say, yeah, definitely a solid 7. The start of the season really set up a high bar. I didn't think they were going to be able to really maintain it for the full 10 episodes, but they did pretty well. Like seems to be kind of hitting up that rising action for a good climax. So 2 episodes left to go. Let's see what happens. I look forward to them a little bit more now because the episodes, the 5, 6, and 7 were not as strong. They were blatant exposition. The only thing that was really keeping the show moving was Soo Young's story. Mm-hmm. And also the flashback stuff. That was actually pretty cool. No flashback this episode, and it was risky, but they managed to pull it off, so that was cool.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it so far for what it is. It's compared to other shows, there's a lot less things to be nitpicky or upset about, which is great. I mean, that's an accomplishment. Congratulations, USA, for pulling it off.
I'm actually surprised because this is a show like I don't think that USA has had this strong of a show. Correct me if I'm wrong. Since Shooter, actually.
Shooter was pretty short-lived too, wasn't it?
Shooter was a really good show though, and it was just one of those like. Well, the NBC owned channels like USA and Sci-Fi Channel and stuff like that, they never give things a chance to breathe. They just hurry up and they'll do a quick 1 season run and cancel, 1 season run and cancel. It's very rare to see a show just, actually get a chance to breathe like how Battlestar did or, things like that.
Well, in the quick access world, you gotta hit them hard, quick and fast in order to get that length out there. I've heard a little bit of talks that some of the shows that are coming out for next season, for like your drama teeny bopper networks, they're probably not going to get series order, and it'll be the first time in a long time that they won't.
Yeah. But Brian, it's good to see you, buddy. We're actually talking about the TV show Treadstone. We do a weekly review on Treadstone in the latter part of the stream. So yeah, that's what we're doing, right? It's what you walked in on for that. But yeah, I don't know. Mark, I know, Mark, you're still in the chat. What did you think of the episode? Since I see you said your DVR stopped recording a minute early, so you had to
I hate
go
it when DVRs do that.
What did you think of the episode overall, Mark? We'll give you a second to pop it in the chat. But yeah, like you were saying, Script Doctor. Yeah, the episode was really solid to me. I still like the pacing of the show, especially this episode was paced pretty well.
But I think that has more to do with the fact that Soo Young's the one that's got the strongest storyline. So whenever the show feels like it's getting a little bit slow, they switch over to Soo Young's story, and it just kind of reinvigorates the flow of the episode because she's got the clearest goal. And I like that. I like the fact that they are able to at least give, because like the Kentucky couple, they're kind of all over the place. There's not really a focus there other than like a to run to hide type of thing, which is okay, but like there's no overall goal that they want to achieve yet. They haven't come to that realization.
Right.
The CIA agent is trying to find out Treadstone and Stiletta 6, which is kind of almost redundant because his boss knows what Treadstone is, and I don't know what, there seems to be some sort of miscommunication or at least deception there.
He's just trying to find out for himself because they're keeping him in the dark,
which is strange because they brought him into this in the first place. So it's like,
yeah, that's a little bit of a head scratcher. But
like sadly they're doing a disservice to those two parts of the story arc. But Soo Young's story is really good. The journalist story ebbs and flows, but it's kind of picking up now. Like it meandered in the middle.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of picking up. And then the one in the past, its start was great. Second episode was a little bit spotty, but its third flashback episode was fantastic, and it's just kind of progressing well up there. So,
I got a feeling now that my theory is Petra and the reporter Tara. I think Petra and Tara are going to set out to find John, who's the guy from the 70s.
If he's still alive, that'd be great to see him. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's he doing now after 40 years?
So I think they're going to set out to find him, unless he's dead. But I got a feeling that they're going to set out to find him.
Yep. Well, it's almost to a wrap, which is it's been a nice respite from regular TV, definitely from when I have to watch Batwoman. So
Yeah, it really has, dude. That I'm sure that doing the reviews for Treadstone is like tempered the crap of watching Batwoman.
Well, it keeps me sharp. I mean, what I find hysterical, because I have been following a little bit of the tweet storm for the Batwoman stuff. Like people are saying this last episode was the best one, but I just watched it the other day and I thought it's still just as bad. Like it tries to copy Daredevil, the hallway scene, but there's no goal to that hallway scene. It's just there to copy it. This writer finally understands what a ticking clock is and a difficult choice for a character is. So that's the only good positive they have out of that. And then the rest is just kind of very contrived. So it's bad. This one's going to take me a bit longer to do. Luckily, the next episode is part of that crisis thing, which I don't really care much about because it's like a detour from the season story. So, and then they go on break. So I'm gonna take my time to make sure I can do this right because this week's been pretty hectic, and I'd rather focus a little bit more on the Mandalorian, even though nobody seems to watch it other than like the the 10% of my subscribers, which is fine for me. I enjoy talking about The Mandalorian, and I like it because I don't have to talk too much about it. It's a pretty solid show, even in mediocrity compared to Star Wars. Like a lot more, they get more done right than they do wrong. So that's also pretty good. Still want it to be an hour-long show, though.
Yeah, I'm hoping that there is a season 2 to Treadstone. I really do.
They got to announce it soon, because if they don't, then yeah, it's just going to be this one and done. But they should be announcing it either before the new year or just after the new year. If we don't hear anything by February, then yeah, we're not getting any more Treadstone.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing because it looks like they got a long game with this.
Yeah, they do. I think at least the way that they're going to end it, they'll end it in such a way that there'll be a little bit of a loophole there that they'll be able to, if for some reason at some point it comes back, that they can pick it right up. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Mark says he liked it. Treadstone has been very good.
Oh, yeah, comparatively, it's really good. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like Mark, who's been your favorite character so far? That's what I want to know. I mean, I definitely I'm a fan of Soo Young, the Korean woman.
I like her character the most too, just because it's the most intriguing.
And she's also the most gorgeous. I'm sorry, did I say that? I might be just a little bit crushing on Soo Young.
That's okay. But yeah. Oh yeah, Mark likes Soo Young. Everybody likes Soo Young.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Think of how impressive it is, because that's a character. Her story's mostly in subtitles, and I know how much people hate subtitles, but damn, it's the best story of the bunch.
It really is, yeah. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, I could take the spin-off film that was in the Bourne universe that wasn't Bourne with her. That would be great.
Oh, you could definitely cut her story into a nice, solid feature.
CIA picks her up and uses her as an asset. That would be awesome. Just give me a 2-hour action.
Guys, I gotta get set up for the after party. So.
Oh yeah, that's. I shared the link with Orange.
Backstage, yeah, I saw Orange is over there waiting. Orange, 1 sec. I've tried to do way too much at once, and I can't send links, so I'm kind of SOL. So just
that's okay.
Pass things along if you can. If you can't make it.
Okie dokie.
I might actually have to go to bed because I've been up almost 48 hours, but that's fine.
Thank you to Rosetta for helping us out.
Hi guys.
Yes, thank you.
Being the regular and best looking person on this panel as always.
Darth Jiggles to the rescue.
Yeah. So. All right. Good night, Rosetta. But yeah, I think that the interesting thing with Treadstone is, man, it also sets a precedent for these little event series, like little 10 episode smashers to just more of these to come out. And
well, it is a mini series, and it doesn't feel like filler because the way that they managed to do it by breaking it up into 4 different major story arcs. Anything that kind of feels exposition heavy, they switch over to the opposite one to drive that story forward. So it's a nice little cheat. I like it, and it's a solid modern miniseries take, and I hope they do another one.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see if it gets picked up again and they get a season 2 out of it and they do something with it, or they just roll some stuff right into the next Bourne movie, which It's a possibility too, since it's a shared universe. So,
Yep, we'll just have to wait for the green light for that next Bourne movie.
all right. So, looks like we are gonna wrap up, guys. We've covered pretty much everything for the evening. We are like right dead on the nose at 2 hours,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people want to call it a night. So we do this every Thursday, usually around 9 o'clock. We go for, usually 2 hours, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. But,
See what the week is like.
but we do it every Thursday, 9 p.m. We always got a Treadstone review in here at the end. We've got the latest in BSG news, the latest in pop culture news, and we pretty much recap everything that's been going on in the week. So, thank you so much for coming in tonight, watching our stream, supporting us, and make sure that you check out Script Doctor on his channel. What do you have coming up, Script Doctor?
Well, this weekend I'll be doing Chapter 5, The Mandalorian review. You will be joining, I guess, John F. Trent tomorrow for that. I will be popping by for that, so please keep a lookout. I suspect Chapter 5 is going to be closer in tone and quality to Chapter 3. I have a suspicion that every other episode is going to be a filler type until we get to the last two. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the last 3 episodes or 4 episodes that we have left are great. So I'll be doing the Mandalorian one first, then I'll probably have a Batwoman Sunday or Monday, and then I will contemplate if I'm going to do the Crisis stuff for Batwoman. After that, I'll flip a coin, and then
he's also probably going to try to cleanse his brain of Batwoman.
Yeah, and but like that after that episode, they take some time off, which is great because I'm going to be working on some Star Wars videos and my Terminator, how I would end the series type of thing, close the time loop thing. I just got to work a little bit more with the app, the mid-act thing. Thanks to Mega Jetty One for showing me some of the other older ideas. So he's got a new Terminator channel, which is going to be getting some more content soon. So keep an eye out for that. And and that's what for now. And Drew, do you have any other content that you're going to be releasing?
No, I'm gonna probably at some point throw together like a couple of videos. Definitely want to probably do some videos sort of addressing some of my recent stories I've written. So I'll probably do that. And other than that, I mean, everybody can catch us here on Thursday. So we've got that going on, and I occasionally live stream other days, and I intend to start doing some game streams for the channel. So just keep an eye out. I always tweet before I do something, guys. So just watch Twitter. You can follow me there at Supreme Heretic on Twitter. So thank you very much. Appreciate you guys, and we will talk to you soon.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us.